画彩明细成功。
Now let's resume our class. On this page, you need to know the arguments or grounds or the reasons behind the opinion in favor of protectionism. Okay. So on this part, section 4, how to make international trade benefit all. In this part, basically we have two separate questions. Question number 1 is about how to balance the trade benefits between different countries, for example, China and the United States. Who benefits more in the process of international trade, China or the United States? It's not hard to say. Actually, it is rather evident. China is the single most winner, single most important, the biggest winner, I can say. And it is the single winner, we can say. Not a single winner, we can say the biggest winner in this system, trading system. In the past 25 years, on which date the WTO is established? When? I mean, on which date the WTO is established? As of January the 1st of 1995, right? How many years has passed? Yes, in the past 30 years, the WTO has made a huge or remarkable contribution to the economic growth. And China, no doubt, is the biggest winner. And that's why the United States is not satisfied with it. And that's why they want to turn or reverse this regime. Trump's policy of protectionism is paralyzing the international trade regime. How? It refused to appoint new judges in the appellate body. Appellate body, you still remember it? In the WTO, dispute settlement mechanism, AB, appellate body. There are 7 judges in there. 7 judges in there. And currently, no judge living there. Okay. Then how to balance the benefits between different states? Like Trump says, we will build a wall, wall China off against China's imports into the United States. Have you heard about the news about, the parcels, the Tamil? You heard of Tamil? Shein. Actually, they are the Western version of Taobao and Pinduoduo. But they are just in the international sense, right? The Chinese packages or parcels are transferred indirectly to the United States. You know why? Because there is a threshold amount. All those items which are lower the value of $800 are exempted from duties. Are you still on me? Are you still with me? Or are you lost? No worries. I'm taking the video. Okay. After class, and with subtitles. With the subtitles, you can review it after class. But it's not for free. Okay, that's question number one. Question number two is how to balance the benefit within one specific country. We have high income class, middle class, and lower income class, right? In the United States, for example, those working in the Silicon Valley has a very high salary, right? While those ordinary people, they cannot even land their own jobs. They lose their jobs. There are always those rich and always those poor. The income gap is enlarging. How to balance this? If we cannot solve these two problems, then we can see the WTO system still in danger. Okay. That's everything I would like to talk about on the matter of international trade. Then we'll go directly to the second chapter. It's about the law of the WTO. We can also say it's the sources of the WTO. I think we've already talked about this in the general theory class. You still remember? We have an architecture of the sources of the WTO law, right? What's the name of the chapeau? What's the name? Not chapeau, sorry. What's the full name of the WTO agreement? Full name of the WTO agreement. The Marrakesh Agreement on establishing the World Trade Organization, right? This is the source of WTO law. And how many annexes are there to this agreement? How many annexes are there to this? I think this question appears on the final exam, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
4 annexes. 4 annexes. We have Annex 1, Annex 1A, 1B, 1C, Annex 2, Annex 3, and the 4. What's the 4? Plurilateral agreements. Okay? Plurilateral. Plurilateral agreements. Trade agreements can be divided into 3 categories. Multilateral one, plurilateral one, and the bilateral one. The WTO agreement is a multilateral one, yes or no? Is TRIPS. You still remember TRIPS? not the journey trip, but the trips. It's called trade-related intellectual property rights. Right? Is TRIPS a multilateral agreement?
Yes.
He's right. Yes. Why? Because the WTO agreement itself is a multilateral one, while TRIPS is just an annex to it. So all the annexes are part of this multilateral agreement. Okay? Good. Now let's look at this point, the need for international trade rules. Why do we need international trade rules? Trade is an economic activity. Just let them run on themselves. Let them run themselves. We don't need any rules. What will happen if we without any rules? There are no rules. For example, there are no rules in this classroom. What would happen?
Nobody come here.
Exactly, nobody is here. If there are no rules on international trade, then the society, the international community will become a jungle. The international community will become a jungle. You know the rule of jungle? Exactly, definitely. How to say it in English? It's okay. I'll say it for you. Okay. The fittest, the survival of the fittest. The survival of the fittest. A question. If there are no international trade rules at all, who will benefit more? The biggest countries, the big countries, or the strong countries or the weak ones? Yes. Actually, law or order or rules are good to those weak. The law is generated to protect the weak, no matter it's for the people or for the countries. Got it? Okay. So we can say rule of law is a very important value we need to uphold, especially for us, law students. You need to regard it or treat it as a belief. Your belief of values should include rule of law. That's why we need international trade rules. Here is a list of the reasons why we need international trade rules. You can review it after class, okay? The weaker countries are likely to suffer most where the law of the jungle reigns. Reigns means rules. The law of the jungle, the survival of the fittest. For example, if there's no law, there's no legal rules, then maybe those weak people will be bullied by the strong one. Even us teachers can be bullied by others. I mean by other teachers. If there are no rules, that's horrible. But rule of law needs our efforts to uphold. It will not stand for itself. It needs us. It needs our efforts to pursue it, to uphold it. Okay, then let's talk about something about international economic law and the international treaty law, the relationship between these two. I think I've already made it clear in this part. The international economic law and the WTO law, the relationship between the two, right? And we also mentioned trade agreements can be divided into 3 categories: bilateral ones, plurilateral ones, and multilateral ones. You need to remember that, okay? Trade agreements. Here. Also, you may not notice that the name of this PPT is called what? What is the name of this PPT? The law and the policies of WTO. You can see that why there is a policy there, not just law. Because we have law on the top, and then we have regulations made by which government body? State Council. Got it? 国务院 generated the laws, regulations, right? And this one, who adopted this kind of law? NPC, National People's Congress, NPC, and its standing committee. Standing committee. Standing committee. NPC and its standing committee can adopt laws, right? And the State Council can adopt regulations. This is law. This is regulations. We can say this. Or some other measures, actions adopted by the Department of Commerce or Ministry of Commerce. The Ministry of Commerce, MOC. It's a sub-branch under the State Council. Ministry of Commerce. For example, it's also about my recently published article I sent to you in the WeChat group, right? And that article is about the trade ban on rare earths or strategic natural resources, for example, gallium, germanium, those rare earths. This ban, trade ban, this trade ban is a kind of policy. Can we say this trade ban is a law? No. A regulations? No. It's just an action. It's just a measure. So this too is policy. This is domestically speaking. And above this domestic, we have WTO, like the father of the emperor. WTO law is supervising the domestic laws or internal laws of of the sovereign states of the WTO members. Which one is more powerful? This one or this one?
No.
Of course, WTO law. WTO law can govern or regulate or discipline domestic laws. For example, I punish you, I will discipline you. Here, there, discipline you. And the rules, the WTO rules can also be called WTO disciplines. WTO disciplines means WTO agreement on this. TRIPS is also a kind of WTO discipline. For example, someone is inspected or disciplined. What does that mean? 双规 inspected and disciplined someone, especially those leaders, right? There's those corrupted leaders. Okay. So there is a difference between law and policy. Okay. WTO law can regulate all of these. Domestic law, domestic regulations, domestic measures, actions, these are all subject to the regulation of WTO law. Okay. As you can see, national regulation means domestic law. And the international coordination, actually, the sources of the WTO law is a result of the coordination of its members. Who adopted or made the WTO law? By its own members. How many are there? 164 or 5. I can't remember the exact number. Okay. Then I will introduce to you the hierarchy of this course. I mean the knowledge hierarchy. Knowledge hierarchy of this course. Knowledge system of this course. Got it? I mean, what kind of rules we will learn in this course? What are included in all those chapters? Chapter 1, 2, chapter 8, actually. There are 8 chapters. Although I only sent you 4 chapters, but there are 8 chapters. Then what are the remaining 4 chapters? I'll tell you. Maybe we're not able to go there, but you need to know there are those laws lying there. Need you to learn after class or after your graduation. If in the future you will have a job in this field, actually it can offer you a great help. That long version of textbook, okay? Actually, it's a system of not just continental law. It has also a huge body of jurisprudence. It's a common law system. Look, all these annexes, trips, all these, we can say they are statutes. I mean the law on paper, right? But we can also have another system of law. It's called the common law system. No? Common law system, for example, the English. In England, the laws exist in the form of a lot of cases, precedent cases. Actually, WTO law is a combination of both. We have both law on papers. We have also law like jurisprudence or case law. Yes, case law. Now you need to jot down or remember what's the knowledge hierarchy like? What's the knowledge hierarchy? You know hierarchy? Hierarchy. Level first, level second, level third. This is the hierarchy. We also have a hierarchy of contempt, you know. Contempt means I look down upon you. Hierarchy of contempt. In Chinese, it's called 鄙视链. But this knowledge hierarchy means knowledge system, the architecture of the knowledge. The first chapter is about international trade. It's just a base for the following chapters. The second is the sources of WTO law. The third chapter is Chapter 1, trade. Chapter 2, sources. Good. Chapter 3. Yeah, good. Organization. WTO, organization. Number 4. Dispute settlement mechanism. Number 5. How many periods do you have for this semester? Give you a hint. For today, there are 2 periods. We've already had one. This is the second. I mean, how many periods do you have for this semester in total? I'll detect who's falling asleep. You're so tired to open your mouth. Or I think this is unnecessary. And I find someone's missing besides Dong Xingping. Is there someone? Lan Yufeng 在哪里? Where is Lan Yufeng?
鹰眼，这个才是四大名捕，不是大名。
Yes, I know. I can remember all the faces in this class. Including your names, almost. Mr. Zhu Junwei, you tell me. Chapter 5. What would be included in Chapter 5? Oh, forget it. I will give you another question to test whether you are on this or not. How many categories can be included in trade agreements? Put it another way. We can divide trade agreements into how many categories? How many categories or types? How many categories or types can be divided? How many trade agreements can be divided? Give me an answer, just a number. Someone give him a hint. How many? You guess, just use your knowledge. Can you get my point? How many categories of trade agreements do we have? Five means two, right? Plurilateral means several, some. Multilateral means all, everybody. How many? 3, right? Good. Repeat the 3, the names of the 3.
Bilateral, multilateral, plurilateral.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Why do we always have 2 erasers here? I don't get it. What's the point? Give it to somebody else, to some classroom else.
You can have.
Just because we may not have the opportunity to deal with the remaining chapters, and that's why you need to know what are they about, what they are about. Yes, you can guess. What's the chapter 5 should include? Actually, no. This is the sources is the introduction part. The introduction part. This is the introduction. Well, this is organization rules. This is dispute settlement rules. Is dispute settlement a substantive law or procedural law? Exactly. So DSM is a procedural law, right? Procedural law, like civil procedure, criminal procedure, procedural law. Because how to resolve a dispute, right? AB, appellate body, or panels, right? And the following 4 chapters will be the substantive rules. Yeah, exactly. The substantive. We have 4 chapters of substantive rules. What are they? We've mentioned this in the general theory course. We've learned 2 principles. The first principle is most favored nation principle. The other is national treatment, right? And there is a common name for these 2. They are non-discrimination principle. Exactly. That is a basic principle. We say non-discrimination. This is basic principle, but it's part of substantive law, okay? And the 6th chapter would be, actually we not touch upon it yet. We haven't touched upon it. But you should know, how does protectionism work? Trump has raised the what? Yeah, the tax. But in WTO we have another name. It's a kind of tax, but we use it as tariff or customs duties. Right? We not use tax. Tax is an internal law concept, a concept for internal law. We have tariffs. Tariff is a kind of what? And besides tariffs, we can also have other barriers. For example, quantitative restrictions. Every year, China can only export a certain amount of rare earths outside. That is a restriction on the quantity of goods, right? Because rare earths are strategic natural resources. That's why we need to ban the export of these resources. So this is a quantitative restriction. It's also a kind of a barrier, right? And we have also other barriers. All those barriers form the policy of protectionism. How does Trump protect its own industries? Raise the tariffs, right? For example, the United States has increased the tariffs for Chinese imports to the tariff rate is what? Another 10% increase, right? Never forget, during Trump's last term, he also levied 20% tariff rates. Are they still working? I will tell you, yes, they are still working. Even in the Biden administration, this 20% of the tariff still works. This is another additional 10% by this Trump's administration. So we plus them together. Yes. Right now, Chinese imports to the United States is experiencing a tariff rate of 30%. If you are a producers in China, I mean the factories, what would you do? And another question, who paid all those tariffs in the end?
The treatment.
The manufacturers, the factories, or the consumers in the United States?
Consumer 都不是，应该是经营者。
Okay, that's a question for your after class, for your consideration after class. I'm afraid we'll have to leave this till next week. Okay, that's and you can also guess by reviewing the textbook I sent to you. And your assignment for this week is do a preview. Do a preview of what we will deal with next week to the page maybe 20. Okay, page 20 of the textbook with both versions of Chinese and English. 20 pages. Okay, page 20, do a preview. Otherwise, it may be difficult for you to understand what I'm talking about. Okay? Any further questions? Any further questions? If there are no more questions, then we should call it a day. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.